morning and welcome to Rising. Happy Tuesday. We've got another just fantastic show for you today. Can't wait to start talking about these exciting subjects we have prepared.
Possibly the greatest show of all time, Robbie.
The greatest show of all time. Today, Tuesday, December...
We've decided.
Whatever it is.
December
17th.
We just decided it was that day.
Fantastic.
So let's start at the peak, Robbie. What is on your radar?
Well, CNN finds itself at the center of a journalism screw-up. Clarissa Ward, the network's much-celebrated international correspondent, was accused of inadvertently producing a fake story and has now admitted that she did, in fact, get it wrong. Last week, a video segment by Ward went viral. Ward was looking for Austin Tice, an American journalist who was kidnapped in Syria more than a decade ago and is feared to have been killed. In the video, Ward enters a Syrian prison hoping to find Tice and records the moment when a man who was ostensibly a prisoner of Bashar al-Assad's recently toppled regime was released from his confinement. Let's watch some of that.
He tells the fighter he's from the city of Homs and has been in the cell for 3 months.
Okay, you're okay. You're okay. You're okay. You're okay.
He clutches my arm tightly with both hands.
Okay. Does anyone have any water? Water. My. Okay, it's water. It's water. Okay. Okay. Okay, you're okay. You're okay. You're okay.
We start to walk him outside. Thank God you are safe. Don't be afraid, the fighter says. You are free. This is the third prison they brought me to, he says. The third prison. After 3 months in a windowless cell, he can finally see the sky.
It was a moving moment, one that earned Ward much praise for her reporting and for documenting it. The segment positively took Jake Tapper's breath away.
Another just absolutely remarkable report. CNN's Clarissa Ward in Damascus doing vital journalism. Thank you so much. We'll be right back.
But here's the problem. There are allegations that Ward was duped and that man was not maybe a prisoner at all, or at least not who he said he was. The Syrian fact-checking website Verify Psy reported that the individual in question had provided a fake name. They pointed out inconsistencies in his story, say that he appears far too clean-shaven for someone who has been imprisoned for months, and according to Verify Psy, his true identity is Salama Mohammed Salama, who worked for the Syrian Air Force under Assad and engaged in theft and extortion. Verify Psy wonders if CNN deliberately fabricated the story. Now, a deliberate fabrication seemed unlikely to me, but the questions raised are, in fact, important ones, because something definitely was amiss here. The New York Post described Salama as a notorious torturer working on behalf of the Assad regime. The Gray Zone's Wyatt Reed excoriated Ward for becoming the unwitting media accomplice of a widely hated Assad official, and Hassan Akkad, a filmmaker and activist who was previously held as a prisoner in Syria by the Assad regime, also had doubts about the video. He wrote on X, "I think this is staged. CNN should investigate. Happy to be proven wrong." He said the cell looked unlived in, adding, "Individuals are never locked in communal cells. That never happens in detention centers. None of the clips surfaced of people being released showed a single person in a communal cell. I watched every single clip." CNN decided to investigate the matter. In a statement, the network said, "We reported the scene as it unfolded, including what the prisoner told us with clear attribution. We have subsequently been investigating his background, and we are aware that he may have given a false identity. We are continuing our reporting into this and the wider story." Now, later, the network admitted that the man in question had in fact given CNN a false identity. He was indeed a lieutenant who served Bashar al-Assad. So good on CNN for investigating and admitting wrongdoing. But this is, of course, yet another black eye for the mainstream media, and at a time when trust in mainstream media is at an all-time low, incidents like this certainly do not help.
They certainly don't.
No, they don't.
There's no question about that. And it brings me back to that old saying about stories that are too good to check or too good to verify. Because what appeared to be the case was this extremely dramatic story but I would argue one that should have raised question marks at the start. Like, this guy was the only person still locked in an otherwise liberated prison, and they just hadn't noticed him before. And then some of the other things that other outside organizations have noted about his appearance not really seeming congruous with the story that was being told. It seemed like an emotional moment there, and we saw Jake Tapper's reaction. It seems to have fallen apart. I was glad that you noted that it seems highly unlikely that this was an intentional fabrication, but it does seem a pretty dramatic shortfall in fact-checking.
Yeah, because it wasn't a live broadcast, right? They recorded it and then released it later. If it had been totally live, I think I would have let Clarissa Ward off the hook here entirely, because it's just happening in front of you. She's reacting to it. And I get that they're speaking a different language. She's relying on a translator. Maybe if you could judge how he's reacting, understanding intuitively the language, that would have raised red flags. But they did, broadcast this later, so they had some time to do some of the checking that was done by people to verify that he has actually worked for Assad, is like this notoriously corrupt official, which kind of makes this a quasi-comical display. Oh, I've been freed from prison. You have liberated me. It's a good actor, I guess.
Hey, well, I mean, I think it's Verify I have a photo on their website of the same guy in all his, like, Syrian military or Air Force garb during the waning days, as it turned out, of the Assad regime. I do think it's quite ironic as well that he claimed that one of the central parts of the original story was he was completely unaware that Assad had fallen. And since he was an intelligence officer for the Assad government,
he probably knew.
He
probably knew. It does go to the point, and I've brought this up before. People do, pounce on journalists when they get stuff wrong, including me. I'm very critical of, we do a lot of media criticism on the show. But it is the case in any field that if you work hard to trick someone, if you engage in elaborate deception, you will succeed a lot of the time, because we're trusting beings. And we have to fight in the role of journalism, we have to fight that trusting nature to doubly verify and triply verify and say, does this sound too good to be true? Is this exactly what I wanted to hear? Because people will tell you what you want to hear. This is why police succeed in interrogations all the time. They get people to admit to things that are untrue.
That they didn't
because
do.
The human soul screams out for confession, wants to tell you what you want to hear.
Sure.
The friction is difficult and unpleasant.
And to that point about friction being unpleasant and about people wanting to know, wanting their own views confirmed, this is not, well, I guess it is a defense of Clarissa Ward in one respect. Some of the online criticism that I'm seeing is throwing in all these things that in many cases did not come from her, but are a complaint that people have about journalism or foreign reporting. And she is now getting blamed for lots and lots of things. Like, people were blaming her for the now disproven idea that, like, basically that Hamas beheaded 40 babies. Hamas did horrific things, including killing children, but the 40 beheaded babies thing wasn't true. I can find no record that Clarissa Ward ever said that it was true, but now she's getting blamed for that. I see people suggesting that she faked a brief 48 hours in captivity in Darfur. I read her story on that. There's nothing that suggests that that was fake. She did center herself in the story, as she is, I think, somewhat prone to do in her reporting, and that can be a valid point of criticism. But it's just that sometimes the people who blast the media are just as susceptible to sort of confirmation bias as members of the media.
Well, that's true. I have seen criticisms of her along some Hamas-related line that I didn't look at closely enough. Maybe I'll follow up on that to see if I thought there was something worthy to criticize her there for.
Yeah, there was another thing that she was, I think, unfairly criticized for. She was taking cover from a bomb or missile attack, and then someone added a fake voiceover to suggest she was acting. Now, whether she was like hamming it up a bit or not, that may be the case, but she wasn't under instruction.
It wasn't a full Brian Williams.
I like Brian Williams.
I know you do.
I do not wish to criticize Brian Williams on our air or anywhere else.
Fine. All right, we've got lots more to come today on Rising. Please stay tuned. More of the show right after this.